That's great. Thanks for coming. Right now, I'm just going to give a little bit of background. I know in Our Black Ancestry and Afrogenius in the community, we've been talking a lot about finding your roots. You know, anytime there's any type of genealogy programming on, we're going to be having a discussion about the ins and outs of what happens, what they do when they don't find, 1,055 different things when it comes to, you know, genealogy research. And so one of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight was just, you know, questions you might have had, things that may have come up on the actual hangout, or actually, I'm sorry, on the actual show. My husband just walked in the house. He'll be passing by. Hi. No, he's currently decapitated, but so you'll probably see him walking around in here. But nonetheless, there just have been a lot of things that, hello, I see another person here too. See Renata. Hello, these are people that I know. And Miss Deer out in California. Hello, thanks for tuning in. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question for you. I just got a call from Selma Stewart in Newport News. She can hear us, but she can't see us. And
she can't
walk her through that, or if someone has audio, what do they do to see video or to sort of complete the connection, I guess?
Okay, so in order for you to use audio and video, you have to make sure that you have a plugins connected into your computer. When Google Plus comes up as a screen, it's going to prompt you. It's going to notice that your computer does not have the plugin set up. And so what you need to do is you need to go ahead and install that when it prompts you to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to either hear the audio or you're just going to be able to see us, and that's it. So you have to make sure that the plugin is installed.
Okay,
yeah.
She said she could see you. She couldn't see me, which was perfectly okay with me, and she could hear us. So she may be halfway there. I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, if there's something that beyond that, so.
Okay. Awesome. I see a lot of people tuning in. So I was just giving a brief background. I think a lot of people, you know, realize or they are familiar with Finding Your Roots because this is the second season, and a lot of folks, at least in our community, have wanted Henry Louis Gates to focus more on African American genealogy. And I think people forgot that his genealogy shows actually started with African American lives, and that actually came on for 2 seasons before we had the entire Finding Your Roots extravaganza, so to speak. So until someone else comes on in, I guess me and you can sit here and answer some of the questions I have, unless someone else wants to pose anything here. And I've also got Twitter open.
Okay, I also see Kim Cotton tried to get in. She can't. I guess her connection didn't hold. So she said she'll catch the video.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that was another person that I enlisted a few people to make sure that they could participate as part of the hangout. Wanted to have a variety of different voices to hear from. So let's go ahead and get started with some questions. I guess me and you can just talk for now. Let's see. So what would you consider one of your high points in the season thus far?
Oh, high points. That's an interesting question. I mean, there have been episodes that I've really gotten into, particularly because I don't just watch it, I take notes, and then I go look up things. So I know for me, just the very first episode when Courtney Vance was there, realizing that this is a person from Arkansas, that's my home state. So of course that really did pique my interest, and so I was quite interested in following up to see certain things. Now, of course, it was something that, of course, was very emotional. It was very, very difficult information that was being shared with the guest on that episode. So I can't say high point, but as the research end of it, in terms of what I looked for after the show had aired, I particularly, I guess, was very driven. I was driven to make sure that the story the story of Mr. Vance's grandmother, Ardella, did not define the entire family history. I was interested in the Holmans and even the Vances and found more information about them being landowners. The family was not defined by the circumstance from the years of the Depression and the circumstance in which Ardella found herself as a young girl. So it was something for me to really be able to research that a bit more in depth. And so I put a lot of energy into that as a researcher. Anytime I see something that reveals documents, I'm always curious. So that's what I'll say for me that got me particularly interested, because it was coming from a part of the country that I come from. So how about
Yeah.
for yourself? How about for you?
For me, I would say, yeah, I would say that because immediately when I saw Arkansas, I would just, it was like a light bulb went off.
Right,
Granted, my most of my family is from Louisiana. Most of my research, exists or, it takes place there. But when I saw Arkansas, I was like, okay, well, are we going to go there?
right.
That's the first question I had was, are we going to Arkansas and which
Sure.
county and and all that stuff. And then the story that unfolded, it was really interesting because my mother actually had heard about it. And when the story was taking place, when it was all going on, when they were revealing all the details, I was sitting there like, you know what, my mother and my grandmother, I think they would remember this because they were in Chicago at the time.
Okay.
And so what my mother actually told me was that the church that they mentioned was actually one of the historic Black churches that exists, I guess, within like a certain block radius.
I see.
And so, you had like 4 or 5 different ones. One of those was the church that my family actually went to once they left Louisiana. And so it was almost, I think they made light of this on the show, but the way that my mother made it sound was like it was a huge, huge scandal, and so, you got to remember, if you don't do a lot of newspaper research, you may not know that Chicago Defender had national coverage. It was a
Yes.
national Black newspaper.
Right.
So this wasn't something that was just, flung out in Chicago. No, this was all over the country.
Yes, I agree with that. In fact, one of the things is I was doing research because I found the articles that they shared on the screen, and one was from the Chicago Defender. The second article that discussed the outcome of the case was actually published in Baltimore. It was the Baltimore Afro that had picked up the story, and so it definitely was a nationwide story. But I also felt very, very strongly, and as you know, I blogged about it on my blog, myancestor'sname.blogspot.com, and I wrote an article about Ardella, Victoria Ardella Vance. And as I said, I wanted the story to go beyond that. The circumstances of a teenage mother did not define the gentleman's history, the guest's history. And so
Hmm.
I became curious. There was the uncle in one of the articles that was her supporter, and which was, of course, her mother's family. Her mother, who was kind of unmentioned as the show aired, but I'm sure that was probably just edited out. You can only put so much in a 60-minute broadcast. But I wanted other things to come forth. And I found this family that was thriving during difficult years in the South, and a family that became landowners, before the Depression even. And I think that needed to be part of that history. So, which is why I did blog about that and went into in depth about that on my blog.
Yeah, and that I think we've all picked, 1 or 2 things that really stuck out to us that we decided that we wanted to maybe focus on in terms of blogging and things like that. And for me, the area or the episode that I dug a little bit deeper into was the one with Derek Jeter, and I just wanted to know more about this Green Jeter ancestor that he had, because I felt like
Okay.
they built him up, and then he was on this pedestal, and then we didn't know why he was there and why he was prominent. We just knew he was prominent. So
Right.
I then had questions like, well, what does that mean? And so there were a
Right.
few things that I discovered, just kind of searching around, seeing what I could find, where I was like, oh my gosh, this man was a registered voter, and
Hmm.
may have been a delegate toward the Republican National Convention in Chicago, where Frederick Douglass spoke. I was like, that's huge. Why did they mention that? But then again, we're not in the editing room. And
Right.
we have to assume that people did, that the researchers did provide them with these details, but at the same time, we have to remember this is still television. So certain choices are made on what is broadcast and what is not broadcast. So I would have to say, I think I like the travel to India on this last one, but that was more because I love to travel, and I like seeing that man. I love when he just, it was like we all just gathered on this road, and someone went and got, Miss Bernice, and she's the one that keeps this book, and he was just like, what, kind of like, I've been waiting for people to come from your side of the family, and he just pulls the book out of this cabinet, and just plops it on the floor like, this is it.
Yeah, that's really funny as you're saying that. I'm remembering that. Well, um, one of the things though that you mentioned, I do want to go back to Green Jeter for a minute. What did you say? Jumping the shark with Green Jeter? I think you wrote a really neat
Yes.
piece about that. Well, that was an interesting episode. I did a little bit of research also on that, and was just astounded. Well, there are a couple of things. I wasn't quite sure. I didn't reach all the same conclusions. I know that, we all saw the slave schedule where the female was really, said this is the male ancestor, which is something that could have been caught. And I know things are hard like that to do. But, we heard of Charity, the mother, or there was a woman called Charity who had a son called Green. But in 1870, which was interesting, there was a woman called Rosetta. And it should be also pointed out, just from my research and talking with some other people. By the way, one of our good friends and colleagues is apparently related to a family that had a Green Jeter, and there are about 6 Green Jeters that you can find all over the place in the same census year. But Green Jeter in 1870, there was an older woman in the house called Rosetta, and when Green Jeter died, on his death certificate, the mother was stated to be Roxy. I don't know if Roxy is a nickname for Rosetta. Was Rosetta the same as Charity? I mean, that's just the question you and I will ask. Genealogists will ask that question. A viewer won't, especially someone who may be new to the whole process. And so it's one of those things that I think we're all compelled, to sort of put on our genealogy hats when we're watching it. But you already said it, it is television. So we have to understand there's genealogy for entertainment, and then there's genealogy that we do to find the story. And one of the things, of course, that we should be doing is trying to document, trying to tell that story and to tell it well. And that's hard to do, and to also make it entertaining. I don't know how that's done. That would, because sometimes you and I both know record after record after record is not always fair for television or entertainment of others. So I know it's difficult, and I'm sure they were under time pressure too. So, but the Green Cheater episode was actually very, very interesting because there was a fascinating person called Green Jeter who did an incredible number of things, and I hope that some of those things, such as becoming a voter in a time when it was so difficult and so challenging for people to be able to exercise that right. I hope that was shared with the guest, and it's something that I hope that sort of those accomplishments that are for me very profound will also be shared. And I know they can't do it all in 60 minutes with 3 guests, so I know it's hard.
I agree. I mean, we would, if the show actually, if they probably shared everything that they learned on everyone, it would be, like 5 hours for like one
Oh,
for one
yeah.
guest. We had one Q&A. Let's see, it looks like Renata, she asked for me to make sure that I activated the cameraman app, and I have. So nothing is muted in terms of being able to come in and broadcast video. So I'm not entirely sure why
Can
people
she
aren't
see?
popping up. So maybe if you've got video, I'll just go ahead and send this or mention this again. If you have video, you can activate your video. You should be able to if once you have the plugin installed on your computer, you should be able just to go ahead and join us with video available rather than just listening or just watching on your computer.
What is the Twitter hashtag group?
So the Twitter hashtag is BlackProGen and then HO for Hangout.
Okay.
So I've been refreshing that just to make sure anyone has been asking any questions of us. And I haven't also seen anything on Facebook as well to see, if people have been throwing anything out. So, all right. Well, we will see. Let's see. Next, what do you think? What do you wish they could have dug a little deeper into? We kind of alluded to this a little bit, but in some of the other episodes, we've had a number of African American guests this season. So far, we talked about Derek Jeter, we had Candy Alexander, we had Ben Jealous, who am I forgetting? Courtney Vance, we talked about him. Is there one kind of storyline or something else that we haven't discussed that you feel like, that you wanted to just pause the show on your DVR and walk away and like really, or if you were editing it, what would you have spent more time on?
Well, I think, again, everyone has a personality that they bring to something. The host has a personality, the guest has a personality. And so some of that has to, just be allowed to unfold the way it's going to unfold. Of course, being very, very interested in Civil War history, I was certainly, of course, very, very anxious to hear more about, was it John Janey, I believe, who was the Civil War soldier. And I know that I think that there was one little gap that I think that was there. You saw an ad from the 1850s, late 1850s, for a runaway slave, and there was some kind of strange joking around about that. But then there was but where did he go? What happened to him? Well, then he ran away to the U.S. colored troops. Well, historically, the U.S. colored troops weren't established until 1863. So, there was a little bit more of a gap there. But looking at the history of the soldier, I'm always intrigued, and I love USCT history. I have a blog devoted to U.S. colored troops, and so I would love to have heard a lot more about the soldier, but that's, again, personal bias, of course. So, are you still there, or did I lose you? Suddenly, Nika is gone. Okay, I saw something happen on the screen there. I guess I'll keep talking until I see you come back. But of course, I do have that interest in documenting, because so many people get to that point in 1870 and don't know where to go. Sometimes the answers are found in the Civil War soldiers, that very community. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I particularly, have, come on, let's get on more with the soldier. But that's, a personal bias, of course. I think your camera image is gone. Do you have to activate your camera again?
Yeah, I am trying to get my camera image back on. I'm muting it and unmuting it to see what happens. I don't know. It just kind of dropped out for some strange reason. I hope I don't have to go out. I hope I don't have to go out and come back in, because sometimes that does happen.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But yeah, let's see. Hold on. Maybe this will help. Let's see. Do we have any more Q&A or anybody mentioning anything?
Well, I'll ask you the same question, though, even though we don't see your face. Was there?
I'm still here.
You're still there somewhere. And for you, what story grabbed you, I guess, in terms of, you wanted to see more, you wanted something else to come forth? Was there something that sort of really made you kind of, oh, gee, I wish they had, talked about this a bit more?
I would say it's probably the Ben Jealous episode when they hit that emotional point, where he saw, the father had, had bought his children and how old they were, and then he made the connection with how his own children, and then they went and they talked
Okay.
about his ancestors' life, and that he had purchased the freedom, and
Right.
all this stuff, and it was just kind of left there. Like, I wanted to know more about what happened, like, after that.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was something. I know I've spoken with several people since that broadcast had aired, and the concern was like, okay, well, the point is being made. Yes, this person is a quote unquote slaveholder of record, but do we really understand this person was protecting his family from being sold to anyone else by being the owner? And sometimes many people like to emphasize that point when in reality many people did have family members as quote unquote the enslaved, or they were the slave holder or owner of record. And that's not always understood. But it was still, that was a very powerful episode. I do recall that and remember saying, wow. And it's difficult, I think, sometimes to reveal unknown pieces of data to someone who wasn't expecting it, and sometimes the pieces of data are painful. And I don't know if there's a way to reveal that in a comfortable way. That has to be a challenge. And of course, you've got the cameras going as well, so that can be difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can jump in and jump back on, because this is strange and I'm just a black screen.
Oh, yeah, it is. I see we do have a few people who are joining. Oh, there's someone. I see.
Oh, that's Howard. That's the president of the African American Genealogical Society of Northern California.
Oh, well, hello, Howard. I see your television set, and I see the corner of a room. So I'm glad that he has joined us. Welcome. Glad to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I almost saw a face. There's a face. Hello, Howard. Welcome.
Thank you. And good to see you. I see your forehead. There's your face. Okay, I got you.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Let's
And
see. I'm gonna see if I can leave and come right back. Hopefully this will work, but my camera's being a little special. So
I
um,
understand.
yeah, but broadcast is gonna continue.
Okay, well, I'll
Um,
chat with Howard then. Howard, have you been able to hear any of our dialogue that we've been involved in so far?
Yeah, but it's for some reason or the other I just couldn't get in.
Oh dear. Maybe everyone's trying to get in at the same time or something. I don't
No,
know.
I don't think so. It's just a cranky system.
I see. I see. Well, in the meantime, share with us what your reaction has been. If you've had a chance to watch all of the episodes, has there been anything in particular that has grabbed you, or something that you wanted to see that you didn't see them complete maybe that discussion? What's your reaction? What have you found?
I have been entertained,
Okay.
but that's not what I tuned in for. I was looking for some tips and some ideas and some
Okay.
techniques that I can't explore, but all I got was entertainment.
I see. I understand that. Well, I think that sometimes those of us who are actively pursuing genealogy, we're
Yeah,
looking with a different kind of eye. Um,
got
I
that right.
I I watch it with friends in the Afrogenius chat. We have a live chat that goes on as we watch it every Tuesday.
Oh, during the show?
Sorry.
During the show?
Yes, we watch it as a group. We get our laptops and we're
Oh,
watching the show, commenting on the screen. How did they reach that conclusion? We ask that question. I also observe the Twitter feed as it's going on live. I watch that as well, and so my hands are busy all over the keyboard. But I do, as I watch the Twitter feed of people who are just observers, who are non-genealogists. They're walking away with a warm, fuzzy feeling. And of course, those of us who have been doing it for a while, we have a different kind of eye. I'll ask you the same question that Nika asked. Was there something like in one particular episode that stands out that you wish they had gone into? For example, well, I love Civil War and would love to have heard even more about John Janney, his recruitment. You know, I was on fall free pulling up his service record while the show was on. But was there something that you would have loved to have seen a, a bit more showing up? Anything in particular?
No, no, I didn't get any high points out of that, out of any of the shows at all.
Okay, okay. What was many people had reactions, I know, to the first two shows. The episode with Green Jeter, I think I have to apologize, there's an ambulance going by. The episode with Green Jeter, who was Derek Jeter's ancestor, and the episode with Mr. Vance, who Courtney Vance, who was in the first episode. There's well, I ended up blogging about it. I know Nika blogged about it as well. What was your reaction to, particularly, I guess, either one of those? Because those were very sort of intense shows to sort of watch, and there was a flurry of activity among some people who were researching after the show had gone off. Any reaction that you found?
Green Jeter?
That was Derek Jeter's ancestor. Oh, there goes the fire truck. I apologize for that.
Oh, that was in my neighborhood.
No, no, no. There's a fire station 3 blocks away, and it's the first response. Must be a bad accident. They're sending them all out. They're the first response even for fender benders around here. So, but Green Jeter was the ancestor of Derek Jeter, whose ancestor had run away in the 1850s. That was the one with the runaway slave ad there. And then later, he ended up joining, I believe, the U.S. colored troops. And there was other information that didn't reach the airwaves, but both Nika and I have both researched a bit. And he was quite a dynamic leader in the community, and so we were curious about that.
Well, I was curious about how you found out about his ancestor.
Meaning who? Dr. Gates or?
No, Jeter.
Okay, and you're saying, you mean how did they research it?
Right, right, because
Right.
very little for research purposes was given on the show.
Right, yeah, and I don't think that's probably going to be a focus, I think, because, again, it's a show for entertainment and for non-genealogists, really. We're sort of watching, with an experienced eye, so to speak. And so, of course, I think our reaction is a little bit different. But I think that there was a concern in terms of how was it determined, for example, who the father of Green Jeter was. There was some suggestion that DNA evidence provided it. But we know that with DNA, that unchanging marker that a father passes from son to son, it could have been from the slaveholder or his brother or his father or a male first cousin from the same male father or grandfather, and so on. So it's one of those things that, we do have those questions that we do ask. So, no, it's
those questions that are never answered in the show.
I understand. So, how about the episode that really got people going? The first episode that featured Courtney Vance. That was the one. There was the young lady. She was a teenage mother, and that was hard to watch because he was finding out very, very poignant things on the air. And they were difficult. And I felt for him. I know what it's like to read something very, very sad on a record. I might be in a library and it kind of grabbed my heart going, oh no. And he's finding out about his own grandmother with the cameras rolling. So I know that's hard. I think that because the show kind of opened up with a bang with that story, I really felt for him as a person learning that about his family. But then I researched it and found out more. So, what was your reaction to that first episode?
I don't get very emotional about this stuff.
Right.
He
I,
doesn't.
you know,
He doesn't. I agree.
it's
Oh,
history,
okay. You
it's
know that.
facts,
Okay.
information, and I just can't get too wrapped up into that. It happened,
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
and I
Absolutely.
can't, and I didn't change any of it, so
I
I
true.
accepted it just as it was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
have somebody else?
Yes, there's True Lewis. Hi, True. Welcome.
Hi, True. I'm so sorry you can't see me. For some reason, it says my camera's on, but you can't see
You're
me.
out. You're no longer picture.
Yeah, it says you can't see me. I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm glad that True has joined us. Oh, now she's a still photo right now, but that's okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
No, you were on before.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did. I actually went to the Finding Your Roots website to actually go and pull some information up. And once I did that, it completely crashed my video.
Oh,
Mm, something's interfering. I see.
Ironically, I don't know what happened.
Wow. Well, anyway, we're glad you're still with us then.
Good, good. Well, since I have my audio, no video, I'm so sorry. You guys can't see my face. I actually put on lipstick for this and everything.
Oh, so did
Um,
I. Women do these things, Howard. Sorry.
True, true. We're not picking up your audio. We can't
Click
hear
your
you.
mic. Yeah, we don't hear you.
And you're not muted. I don't know. I think she's trying to figure out what's going on. The next
Turn up
question I was
the volume.
gonna, yeah, or it might be volume. Next question I was gonna ask was, if you could choose to work with one guest, who would it be? Out of the
Mm.
people who have aired this season.
That's difficult for me to say. Um, I'm almost tempted to say that, oh, I might want to maybe share some other things, which they may already have, and I just don't know it because we didn't see it. But I probably want to talk to Gloria Rubin, because I thought there were some pieces of information that she probably didn't get. I know that there was that excitement that was generated. Oh, wow, you found your first African ancestor. To be honest, I think African was a description. It was more of an adjective as opposed to a place of birth.
I agree.
That column was really one describing appearance. But I think for me, I guess the teacher in me comes out, and I want to feel that there is the fire in a person's eyes, and I guess I would want to interact with her to see certain things in the record that really put that fire. And the teacher in me always wants to see that raised eyebrow when a student gets it and they kind of go, oh, wow, you see that happen. And I probably just would have explained things differently, and that's just me, and that's something that I would probably want to do that. Um, I won't say that that was my favorite episode. I'm not sure if it was a favorite, but it is something that, yeah, if I had to want to work with someone, I'd work with her, looking for that fire.
Yeah, that was something that was was a little hard for me to watch was when they pulled out the register in Jamaica and they said, "Oh, this is your direct from Africa ancestor." And after doing a little bit more digging, I said, "That's not possible."
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because of the dates of the list,
Yes,
it
yeah.
was it was virtually impossible. So that
Well,
once
Mika, when they have so many experts, don't spare the expense. How do these lapses take place? How do these lapses happen?
it's we actually alluded to this earlier. I think part of it is just, you have what you filmed that day. So if you have a 3-hour interview with somebody, and then you go from this 3-hour interview and you need to condense that into one episode with two other people, let's say, benefit of the doubt, they give everybody 20 minutes worth of airtime, which theoretically they don't, because the show's not completely an hour.
Right.
So, so that's
15
cutting
minutes.
that's cutting back time. And so then of course you want to focus on the most, um, I don't want to say sensational, but you want to focus on the more kind of shocking or like thought provoking or emotional types of aspects in the show in order to keep the viewer.
No,
So
that's right.
so that's why I think that some of these things appear the way that they do, is because we may not be seeing the entire interview that somebody has. And that's kind of been alluded to a little bit on some of the message boards. I know Megan Smoliniak came in, I want to say Afrogenius, and mentioned kind of a little bit about the background process behind some of the previous shows that she's worked on and things that she's wanted to push for in terms of like confirming relationships and things like that. And them either not having the budget, or people didn't find that it was a necessity. And so, so that kind of ties your hands behind your back. But, I think the other piece is, they are presenting this as entertainment. So people are not, they're not looking at it with a critical eye like we are.
Right. I think that's really true. Oh, I wish we could hear True. She's there listening.
Oh, I'm so sad. Our audio is not working.
Did I hear something? No. Can you raise the volume on your computer? Maybe your volume up. And I can't read lips. Oh
I
wow.
know. I was gonna tell her, just type in the Q&A and I'll read what you say, and I'll attempt to mimic your voice. I'll do my best to mimic your voice.
You're gonna make that work?
I'm gonna try. Because I don't want her to be silenced the entire time. Um, okay, so we need to make sure we mention Miss Angela's blog. It's myancestor'sname.blogspot.com. That was a question that was thrown out earlier, answering that Miss Dira Williams, all the way from California.
Wow. I see that True has an earphone. You know what? Maybe if you pull out that earphone, maybe that's blocking your audio. I mean, you can hear us, but maybe that's blocking your mic or something, perhaps. No, it didn't make a difference. Okay, it was a thought. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, it's a CO conspiracy. Went to finding your roots, and now my camera's blocked. And so, okay, we have someone watching is wondering how to get into the Q&A area. If you're watching and then you have the Hangout window popped up, there's a little panel on the left-hand side of the video window that shows up, and it's got a little chat room area. It's got a little Q&A app. There's a bunch of little apps that display over here to the left-hand side. So if you click the Q&A, you'll actually bring up the Q&A panel that's there. Some of the stuff you can't see because, I'm the master of the universe, and because I'm the master of the universe, I have a lot of So, okay, hold on. True has typed her statement. Me. Let me read it. Since she's only got video and I've only got audio, we have to work together. You guys are fine. I'm trying to figure this out so you can hear me. That's what she said.
Okay. Keep tweaking. There's something that's probably a button, somewhere hidden somewhere, and then we can hear your voice. So
yeah, I agree. So, I think, we just have to keep remembering this is entertainment. I think we're going to get a lot of bang for our buck in the next episode, with, since it'll have 3 people with African American ancestry featured in it. But I think we have to just assume that that there may be things that are questionable, or that we find that are not necessarily, how we would, we would prefer to do research, or, just that just seem like they don't match up. And I think the beauty of that is the fact that if you're really interested in it and you really want to know about it, you can actually go out yourself and find the information. That's how genealogy is supposed to be to begin with. I'm supposed to be able to take Miss Angela's work or Howard's work and go back and look at the sources that they say that they found, and be able to confirm everything that they said. And if I can't, then that's a problem.
Right, that's correct. And of course, well, probably maybe by the next time we have one of these chats, of course, actually, True, who's trying to get into the dialogue, True might be a person we'll be talking about, because we know she's been featured on the Genealogy Roadshow, but she can't say anything right now because it hasn't aired. And
she's sworn to secrecy.
We're so excited about your episode coming up, so we're quite thrilled about that. But I think, in light of what we're talking about, it's like an explosion of genealogy television programs. I have yet to catch up and watch the CNN programs, the roots of all the people. But one thing we haven't talked about, the episode with Anderson Cooper.
Yes.
And as we know, there was some information about one of his ancestors there, and there was some follow-up with the ancestor on the CNN version.
Yes, there was.
The name of the slave who was eventually killed after killing his slaveholder. That was one story for me that I guess because I do tell the story. I do believe that we are storytellers. We're not just chart makers. And we are sort of obligated to find out what happened. And for me, in that particular episode, for a person who is enslaved with no power of privilege of protecting his own family or any personal rights, because his body didn't even belong to himself, for him to be provoked to kill someone, then my question was, well, what was the provocation? There's the story. And that particularly was something that I wanted to see. We got a little bit more of it in the CNN broadcast, but sometimes, and I understand, that we are limited by time, but those little snippets, it's beyond, that little 3-minute exchange when they find out something that's happened. And that was something that I definitely wanted to hear a lot more about, I know, on Finding Roots. So, I mean, that was something that sort of left that feeling for me. Last night's episode was very different. I think we were like 23 minutes into the broadcast before they started showing documents, because I was sitting there with my watch, and so
that's true. That's true.
That was really kind of interesting, and I wasn't quite sure. I think because all of the guests had a little bit of knowledge, a degree of knowledge about their history. They had to go back pretty far to get to the unknown parts. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys have to say.
I agree with everything you said, actually. I'm not sure I don't know if there's much for me to add. Howard, do you have anything to add?
I was disappointed at first, but then you got to recognize that this is a public entertainment show.
Absolutely.
And they're not committed to look at genealogies, especially, and he didn't. He looked at preparation of food, the food tradition. That's fine. I'm just not a foodie, so that was not particularly interesting to me. And the fact that this guy could go back in China to 92 generations or something, I found remarkable and unbelievable. And there's no way you can verify it. So I'm not sure that I got that much out of it, except it was entertaining and they were good looking. They were good looking subjects, all three of them.
Yeah, we got some comments here from the Q&A panel. Teresa Cottrell says, we can't go back and fetch a food tradition that has been in our family for generations. I've been at this for 31 years this year, and I'm still saddened by this. And she also mentioned a little bit later that last night's episode, while interesting, saddened her somewhat. She says, African American, we don't have the culinary history that other ethnicities do. And I agree to a certain extent, and until you've been, I've traveled to Africa twice. And one of the things that was eye-opening for me were the number of foods that they were eating in the country that I visited that we ate in the United States, and we prepared the exact same ways. And so I think I think sometimes we think we have more of a separation than we actually do. And having friends of various from various countries in Africa, and you just look, if you even go to the museum, I can't think of the Charles Wright Museum in Detroit of African American history, where they have this whole area where they address the food tradition in Africa and what they ate. And when you see some of the stuff there, or a lot of the stuff there, looks just like what we are eating right now, or what our Southern traditions are. So, I
consider that a food tradition.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, as you know, I'm married to a man from the continent, and as I'm sitting here looking at my husband, he's taking this pile of pepper soup downstairs to sip on, and I cook a lot of African food, and it's very interesting because there are more similarities than we may realize. I know how many of my in-laws, when they come over to the States, number one, they're surprised that I'm very comfortable with pepper. Well, I grew up in the South. We eat pepper in the South. And yes, I cooked with okra. We cooked with okra in Arkansas. And don't ask anyone from Louisiana if they put, okra in their food. My goodness, what do you think gumbo is? Gumbo is nothing the same type of thing. We have a food tradition. Unfortunately, I think there are some parts of our experience that we have yet to totally embrace as being authentically ours. Number one, Southern food, whether it's from Savannah to the Gulf of Mexico or Kansas City and Memphis or wherever, that is our food tradition, and it's something that and also for those who are non-meat eaters, the vegetables, the greens, the beans, the corn, and the many ways to fix it, that's very African. But we don't know it a lot. I would encourage people to look at the work, and I follow him. I follow him on Twitter, and I follow his blogs. Look at the work of Michael Twitty, who is, he's an Afro-culinarian, and he is a person who really focuses on 400 years of our food tradition. 4 centuries is quite a long time in my estimation, and we do have a tradition. There are many things that we don't always realize that it's part of it, and cooking African food is very, very easy for me because a lot of it's the same kind of food that I grew up with, except I might serve it with a different kind of rice, or I may serve it with a different kind of starch, but it's the same food, and as you say, in the same way. And having also traveled a lot in West Africa and spent a lot of time there, it's very, very interesting to see that, some of these things we actually brought with us. So everything wasn't totally erased, but this is part of the journey that we go on as researchers and as genealogists. Ours is not just about creating the nice chart for the reunion or putting the chart on the wall, because so many times we want to re-heal ourselves, because sometimes that pain is still there. So finding those stories and savoring those flavors, it's the balm that sometimes we seek. And we don't even know sometimes that we're seeking that balm, but it is there. And we do have some traditions. So much was lost, absolutely. Language, yes. Other types of ceremonial traditions, oh yes. But food, which is basic, I eat several times a day. So some things weren't totally lost. And that kind of show can't always focus on that. But I still, yeah, felt a little bit of that sadness maybe when I think the gentleman, when he found out he had 900 years worth of ancestors and said, gee, I wonder what they ate. But yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and you're just, and you know what, that for me, I think the closest thing I have to that whole, when they rolled the tree out and it went back past Jesus and almost God, it
I know.
reminds me of a woman, and I know Howard's gonna laugh, when we had a presentation at one of the society meetings, and she comes out of South Louisiana, and she's in those sacramental books from the Catholic Church. And once you find one person in there, you've got like 5,000. And so she just kept going on and on and on and on. And my 58th great great, everybody else in the meeting is sitting there like, when are you gonna stop? Like, what I mean? Is there like a hard stop? My people are from North Louisiana. We didn't have the Catholics up there like that. You know what I mean?
Close to
So
Arkansas. You're on the
yeah, we're
Delta.
close to Arkansas, exactly. We're on the Delta. Something that someone brought up, Miss Dira mentions a book called High on the Hog by Jessica B. Harris, and she says that goes into the culinary history of Africans and African Americans. So that's something that we should note. Um, and let's see. Okay, Teresa is responding. She says, I guess my point is that a few of us have a tradition or recipe that we can trace back. I realize that there are some foods eaten here that are eaten in Africa, but I see our cultural cuisine as somewhat bastardized version of what our original cuisine probably was. And yeah, it is to a certain extent. But the thing that's so funny to me, being a newbie to the South, are the number of people who don't look like us who eat Southern food.
Thank you. That's right. That's right.
So I thought that was interesting. I worked a wedding once, and one of the groomsmen was upset about tomato basil soup and said he'd prefer to have pig feet. And they did not look like us. So I thought that was really funny. Shelley Murphy, she's here. Wave hello, Miss Angela. Miss Shelley's here.
Hello,
She says
Shelley. Good evening.
she says she's a non-meat eater, and that we do have traditions, maybe not from Africa, but we have them. Think of grandmother's bread soup. And totally, my grandmother's fried chicken recipe is, a staple in my family. Another thing Miss Shelley brought up is the fact that you can watch the Roots, Our Journeys Home for CNN. You can actually watch that on their website. I actually caught a simulcast last night. It was 2 hours where it bundled in kind of the highlights of every single guest or every single host experience on the show. And then, kind of it was basically like a teaser to lead you to their website to watch the full pieces. And it was actually really good. I noticed they brought in a researcher from Ancestry.com who performed the research piece, and then there was, so it was kind of twofold. It was the genealogy, the hardcore genealogy, paper genealogy, and then a trip somewhere for your family. So it more mirrored who do you think you are than it did finding your roots, where the person was just presented with this book. So that is that. Let's see. True is excited about Genealogy Roadshow. She just wanted to make sure that everybody knew. And we need to make sure we're watching the St. Louis version so we can see her there. Just getting all the comments here. Ms. Dira mentions Valerie Jarrett's episode. Valerie Jarrett apparently has Creole ancestry. Dira mentions that her friend Christopher Landry was a consultant for that show, and so she's anxious to see how the Creole aspect translates into the program. Me too, since I'm steeped in Louisiana research, and I feel like Louisiana always gets the short end of the stick if we want to keep it real on some of these shows. I feel like we do, because we have a very complicated history there.
You do.
Yeah. So one other question, someone named Anna Powell's joined us. She says she's just beginning the genealogy journey, and what's the best advice we could give her? My suggestion, and I always say this to anybody who's starting, regardless of age, is to gather your documents and start your pedigree chart, and do that. Gathering documents meaning birth certificates, death certificates, obituaries. Do that before you jump online. because if you try to do it afterwards, it's going to be a mess. And if you're if you're a part of Our Black Ancestry or the Afrogenesis community or even the Maggie community, there are definitely some links and tutorials and things in there that we can connect you to in order to make sure that you get your journey started off correctly. Because I feel like now, because the information is so readily available online and it makes it look like it's so easy, in some ways it is. It kind of leads people down this road where they just think that everything's online and they forget that there's a whole separate process to the research that takes place offline. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
I would probably make a suggestion that I know the temptation, first of all, we cannot fight the power of television. We can't fight the fact that, you see the commercial, what is it, the Ancestry commercial, where, you see the shaky leaf and it lands on the guy who's a photographer of Lincoln in Gettysburg or something. And so everyone, sees the commercials. I want to go online and find out what I can. So we know that many people are going to go online first, no matter what we say. But the fact is that please do not let the online world be where you stay. You've got to turn off the computer. You've got to go to, if you can't go, well, then you get online and put in the request to your state archives and get those vital records meaning birth, marriage, death. You want to obtain some of those records as well. You want to, at some point, not right away, but at some point, start to look at land records. When you find yourself stuck at 1870 or not quite sure what to do next, you do want to take a look and see what else may be there. And I say, even before you head off to your ancestral county, that you find the family's freedom story and study how freedom came to people who were enslaved in that era. So there's plenty to do, and 2/3 of what you're going to be finding is not online. So it's really so.
Nika, it's 7 o'clock. I gotta go.
All right.
I'll be back. Angela, it was good to meet you.
Likewise, Howard, a pleasure.
And congratulations, Nika. I never did congratulate you on your pregnancy.
Thank you very much. Even though I'm a blank screen, you'll see me one day.
Oh, yeah, I saw you before you cut it off, so that's good. But take care, folks. It's been fun. I'll be back.
See you later, Howard.
All righty.
Yeah, something that's interesting. It actually just was posted in one of the groups on Facebook. Was someone going in and hijacking your tree, and adding information when they shouldn't be, and adding in wrong facts, and it's like a firestorm of comments right now, because the person that created the tree is not the person that owns, or that's related to the people who are doing the research, and is listing the wrong facts and has been told multiple times to change information, and the person will not do it. And so this is one of the reasons why you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. People are asking, is there a way to report her, blah, blah, blah. This is one of the issues you have when you start out with documenting your stuff online primarily, and you have an open tree and you don't have things sourced. People are going to go and grab the information. They're not going to go and double check sources. So then you have this repeating over and over and over again if you have a number of relatives going online to go and do research, and then it begins a big, huge issue, and it becomes out of control. And so, that's why it's always my suggestion to start with your own pedigree chart. Get as much as you can on your parents, your immediate family, and then go back from there, and then start the online journey. Teresa Cottrell's added in, my advice would be to document. Of course, talk to your oldest relatives still living while they're still here. Start with yourself and work backwards. Absolutely. There's no other way to do this. You have to always start with yourself. So if that's it, I think we're done. I'm so sad my video didn't stop working like halfway through. I don't know what happened. Next time I'm just not going to hop on the Finding Your Roots website when we're on here. Just to go ahead and mention, we're going to do this again after the next 5 episodes air. So if you're interested in joining us for that, feel free to join us. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that date. If if you haven't added me to your circles on on Google Plus, be sure to do so, and then that way I can send you out a request to join and actually have your video and audio heard. As people were saying that they wanted to participate that way, I've actually added them to make sure that that they that they could participate. Some people had audio and video issues, other things, but as long as you're in my circles or have added me, I can go ahead and add you back, and you can be a part of the conversation. So just wanted to say thank you so much to Angela Walton Raji for being part of our first little video chat. I thought it actually went very well. The next time we're going to do this is going to be on Wednesday, December 3rd, same time, 6 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll go ahead and close this out. Oh, there's one more comment. Hi everyone, this is William, or as my big genealogy brother Art Thomas would say, Hollywood.
That's good.
I've been away for too long, but I'm back researching. DNA is next on my list of things to do. This is a great format, and I will definitely be back. I am glad you were here, Bill Carson. And we might need to connect because Carson is a married-in last name for my family. So, thank you. Thanks for joining us. This recording will actually be available on YouTube. I'll make sure that I'll post it on my blog and in all the various groups and whatever else. Hope everyone has a good evening. Take care. Stay safe. We've got people doing craziness right now, so keep Canada and the United States in prayer. Make sure everything goes well for the rest of this week. So, all right, everyone, have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.